Happy Friday, everyone. Peggy and I are here for our second live Q&A where we are going to answer your questions that you've posted in the Facebook group and that have come up in discussion. And we're so excited to be here. We did this a couple weeks ago and had so much fun. So we know it'll be a great experience this time as well. And I'm Karen Seitz, and I'm the lead teacher for our relationship program at a new life center, which is the basis for our Facebook group. We're the administrators and the ones posting the content. And I've been working on myself using the tools and education from our program in my marriage for the past 4 years and experiencing myself in totally new ways. Before finding this, tried to work on my marriage with counseling and with different self-help books. And all those things did was actually cover up the real problem, which was the disconnection from myself that was causing my problems in my marriage. So what we teach is unlike anything else out there. It is really different. So please open your hearts to hearing a different way to approach the issues and challenges that you're having. And today I'm here with Peggy Litt, a founder of the New Life Center. And Peggy, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Sure. I have actually been doing this work for about 14 years, but I've been working with both men and women for the last 10 on their relationship with themselves. So this is a very different way of looking at things, and it is taking complete responsibility for yourself and your experience in your relationship. And that really is the only thing you can ever change. So it works.
That's great. And it kind of also touches on our 3 key points for the Facebook group. And this builds the framework of what we're teaching. And that first key point is that you are responsible for your happiness, that you need to find that within yourself. And when you do that, you're able then to bring that into your marriage and into all of your life. And the second key point is what Peggy just touched on, which the only person that you can change is yourself, that you can't change your husband. You can't change things outside of you, but you can work on yourself. And when you do that, you experience new changes externally because of what you've been able to do within yourself. And the third key point is that authentic intimacy begins with a relationship with yourself and feeling good about who you are. And when we are able to know who we are and feel good about who we are, then we're able to take our walls down and open our hearts and then step into our relationships from that place. And that's where intimacy builds and begins to strengthen. So with that being said, I think we'll dive in. We've got some great questions today that we're going to cover. If you're watching live, and a question comes up, you can type that in the comments. And if we're able to get to that as well, and it ties into what we are talking about, then we'll be able to do that too. So I think that the first question that we were going to address was someone had asked in the group about any tips about bringing it with extraordinary passion. And Peggy, I know you've got some really great things to share about this.
Well, and I know in my past life, if I had heard that, I would have immediately closed down, just going, oh my God, I have to act like this crazy, passionate woman or something. But first, I would look at yourself and see if you are maybe suppressing a hurt or a trigger, and perhaps that's causing you to withdraw from him, because men are very sensitive. They know when we're withdrawing. So him saying that you haven't been on your A game for a while would tell me that I've pulled away from him. Another thing, if you're trying to do it for him, it's going to feel like a burden, and you're going to resent him, and you're going to have your walls up. open up to yourself and give yourself the best experience you can have, and have some fun, and just take him along in your experience of yourself.
Yeah, I never wanted to know that my husband could feel me shutting down. So one of the biggest issues in my marriage and in relationships with men has been around sex and having my walls up and withdrawing and not being there in my experience. And I was very naive to think that my husband couldn't feel that or know that that was what was going on with me. And it did kill things in the bedroom. So when I learned to be grounded in myself and show up as myself with sex, then my husband appreciated that so much, and he could feel that change in me.
Well, and you can only enjoy sex as much as you are open to yourself. We think we can only enjoy sex as much as we're open to our partner, but sex really is an experience of ourselves. So open up to yourself and see what happens.
That's great advice, Peggy. Thank you. And I think we're just going to keep going through the
Okay.
list of questions. So the next one, which is a really good question, it came up, I think, in one of our videos last week. And this person asked, how do you respect a man? I know our version of respect is far different than a man's version. And my husband always accuses me of not respecting him, but I thought that I was. Are there certain phrases or things I can do to show him that I do, in fact, respect him?
For me, I knew I loved my partner at times, but I did not even know I should respect him. And to respect a man, you can't be emasculating him or belittling him. You have to make him feel and be genuine in it, that his opinions and beliefs matter and are important. So many women that I work with, and I was guilty of this too. They were like a place card holder or something. I didn't think they had anything really worth contributing. And where do we get that? Another way to respect a man is to initiate sex. Sometimes make him feel like a man, do special things that he would appreciate, not what you think he would appreciate. If he likes fishing, surprise him with a day trip with a fishing guide and pack a lunch for him to go, make him feel special.
I think that's a great point, Peggy. For so long, I would do things for my husband that I actually wanted him to be doing for me, that weren't things that he necessarily enjoyed. And then I'd be upset about, well, why aren't you appreciative of this? Or why aren't you enjoying this? And it's because it wasn't what was really special to him. And again, kind of piggybacking on what Peggy said in the previous question, I do those things for myself. That when I come at it for doing them for my husband, then I'm going to be resentful, and I'm not going to be genuine in my expression of my respect for him. So it's really important to know that I'm doing it from a genuine place in myself and not acting or pretending. Or go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's always nice if you can tell your husband he looks handsome. The better we feel about ourselves, the more handsome our husbands become to us. This week I have just thought David has been so handsome. And sometimes we forget to tell them that too. And another thing, have real conversations with them. Don't just vent to him. Treat him like a person.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Men are problem solvers and they want to help us fix the issues in our life. And when we're venting, we're not looking for our problems to be resolved. We're just dumping. And then if they try to help us or give us solutions, we often shut them down and say, I'm not looking for you to give me any advice or tell me what to do. And then they feel shut down because that's what they're actually good at. It's offering some solutions. And another point I wanted to brush on with showing a man respect is also understanding when he's got things going on in his life. To know that he has things that go on that are stressful for him or burdens for him. Like my husband is starting a new job this week, and it's really going to stretch him as far as getting outside of his comfort zone and learning new things. And it's bringing up things for me too. He's going to be in a new work environment with new women, and that's bringing up some of my own insecurities. And old me would have dumped that on him and wanted to make me feel secure somehow. And so I'm being very careful this week to look at my own stuff and take responsibility for that of what's happening in me so that I don't make him worry or more stressed out. We have to notice when things are going on for our husbands or our partners and be respectful of that, to not put more on their plate.
Yeah. And realize they actually do have feelings.
Yeah. And insecurities and doubts and fears. We're not the only ones with the feelings, and they show it differently. So we get naive in thinking that there's nothing going on for them because it looks different in how they show it than how we show it.
And we want it to be all about us. That's not respecting a man either.
Yeah, we really do want it to be all about us. I wanted to pretend for a long time that that's not me. But when I got honest with myself, I made everything about me, everything. So great. So the next question, which I know we have two questions that are a little similar together. So we'll address both of them, and you'll get a lot from the answers we give for both questions. But how do I use the relationship, meaning the relationship I have with my husband or partner, to give me more of me instead of losing myself in it?
That we do tend to lose ourselves in our relationships. It's weird because we try and make it all about ourselves, yet we lose ourselves. So I guess the best advice I could give there is really, really try and open your heart first to yourself and to learning about your likes and dislikes, and then learn to express them with your partner. And if your walls are down, you're going to find aspects of yourself that are actually very attractive and will make you want to know yourself more, I think. And he certainly will want to know you more. So another thing that would be really good, which I'm still learning how to do, is having tough conversations that actually have resolution. I always thought tough conversations would just end in yelling and screaming and hard feelings. And I'm not a yeller and screamer, so I ran away from them. But if you have resolution to your problems, it actually makes you feel closer and it builds your relationship stronger. So don't be afraid to have those hard conversations, and you will learn more about yourself in them also.
Thank you, Peggy. And it's also important to, one of the things I'm learning with the challenges coming up for me and my husband going into a new job, and other different types of challenges that come up in a relationship, instead of shying away from them, or like Peggy said, running away, using them as an opportunity to look at some of the insecurities and unresolved issues I have in myself. So even though I know there's going to be challenges in this, it's having an attitude of and a mindset of I'm going to roll my sleeves up and I'm finally going to look at these things and work through these things and use this as an opportunity instead of something to avoid and dread and hide from. And I get so much of myself by using the ups and downs in my marriage as a way to get to know who I am and learn to take care of myself and do the things I always wanted my husband to do for me, learning to do those things for me. And I get so much of myself in that and bring myself back from being lost and not knowing who I am. All right.
Good job, Karen.
Thanks, Peggy. So the next question came from one of our members in our group who had an experience with her partner where she got triggered by something and she ended up unloading on him and knew what she was doing, but couldn't find it in her to stop herself and knew that it created a mess. And so her question was, I feel like a monster and I feel like I have no tools to be a good partner. I feel like from this incident, my partner is going to leave me. How can I make it right? And she's talking about when we're triggered and we lash out and dump and we know then that we're not treating our partner with respect. How do we make it right?
Well, and good for whoever wrote this because you're at least catching yourself. And try and remember that when you're triggered, you're really in a like pseudo reality. You're not seeing things clearly. And I see this over and over again. And we were in a meeting last night that several people got triggered, and I actually did too. And we saw someone in a light of not even reality for a split second. I caught myself and could turn it around real fast, but you really are, what is happening is not what you think is happening. So the best thing you can do is try and excuse yourself and ground yourself. Slow down and try and ground yourself and connect with yourself the best you can. And remember that a trigger is really your heart telling you that you're not aligned with your truth in that situation. It's not the other person. It's that you're not aligned with your own truth. So I'm very proud of whoever wrote this because you're starting to get it, and good for you. And you're probably going to yell again and again, but do the best you can and maybe just say, I know right now I am triggered and you look like you have 3 heads and I know it's not you. Please give me some time. And even if your good man says, it's okay, I can handle it, do the loving thing and don't expect him to do that because you're going to hurt him. You're going to hurt him.
That's great input, Peggy. And I have to be the one to, even if my husband says, it's okay, we can talk about it. I have to, what Peggy's saying is I've got to be the one to be responsible for myself and know that even though he's giving me that invitation, I need to support myself and say, thank you. That's really kind. And I appreciate that. I'm not in the space yet, so I need a little time. That's respecting myself and in turn then respecting my partner so I don't make a mess out of something that doesn't need to be a mess.
Right. And maybe him saying that might be enough for you to open up and see what's going on. And if it is, then please proceed. But if you still feel that charge in you, just go, honey, I'm sorry, but I'm going to hurt you if I talk now.
and he'll understand. There was one other thing in this post that I thought was a good thing that ties into our framework. In this post, she said he said something to me that he should have known would trigger the hell out of me, and either not said it or said it differently. We can't change our partners, and we don't have any control over them. And I know, and 9 times out of 10 in this kind of situation, he wasn't coming from a place of meaning to hurt or having that intention. So if I get triggered, I have to look at what's this coming up for me, knowing I can't change him or control what he says. But I do have the ability to look at myself and say, get curious. What's this about me that I'm so reactive and have so much up in me? And then I'll be able to see the reality for what it is. And he didn't mean anything by that. He was just sharing, or he was just being himself. And then that way we don't should our partner. He shouldn't say things that trigger me. That's putting on expectations we can't control.
Well, and a lot of times when someone says something that triggers us, it might bring up something from growing up. If it brings up that we're less than or something like that, they have no way of knowing that that's in us. And it isn't their job to tiptoe around us anyway. It's our job to look at how we're experiencing ourselves and fix it. So.
Thanks, Peggy. We've got a good comment coming in from Facebook. It says, and I can relate to this, hard conversations come up when he's drinking, and it really triggers me to blow up on him. I've had to learn to keep things calm at that time and brush things off. Then the next day I can bring it up and say, hey, let's talk about our conversation from last night. Good for you, for whoever put that in. That's the mature thing to do, is to know that's not a good time to talk.
Well, and please, ladies, I think I hear more women having trouble with thinking their men drink too much. Look at that, and maybe you have something in you that feels like you're a little bit white trailer trash or something. So when he drinks, you feel that in you. And if you know that's you and can feel through that charge, then maybe he just needs to have a few cocktails, and maybe he isn't as out of control as you think he is. Again, we really put ourselves into a pseudo reality and see our partners in a very unpleasant way that may not be necessarily how they are conducting themselves.
Very true. And sometimes one of the things I had to look at for myself, and I thought that what my husband was drinking too much, or he was having too many drinks if we were together. I had to see that the ways that I was emasculating my husband and our marriage and making him feel weak and bad about himself contributed to how much he was drinking, because he felt bad about himself and he was escaping from that. And we all have our issues and flaws and challenges around that. But when I started to show up kind from my heart, and as we keep talking about taking my walls down and showing up soft, my husband started drinking a whole lot less, because as I treated him kindly and I was showing up happy and being responsible for that in myself, then he was able to step up in a new way and not need to escape from me or the relationship.
Well, and if the female in the partnership is being pretty cranky about your partner drinking, he's going to drink more.
Yeah, he's going to rebel.
Yeah, the child in him's going to come out just like the child in us comes out, and it's just going to go downhill from there. And it's one thing if your partner does have a very serious drinking problem. But we're talking about generally good men that maybe do need to relax. They carry a lot of burdens that we don't even realize they're carrying. And then if we're not being very nice to them and squashing them down too, that contributes to how much they drink.
All right. So I think we have another set of questions that I'm excited for this first one because I know it's the curiosity that many women in the group have of what we're talking about when we talk about being with a good man. So this next question is, what does it mean to be with a good man? And how can I tell if I am with one?
And that's a really good question because I would have initially said a good man is always kind and gentle and loving. And yes, that is generally true. But if we are triggered and come at them, our good men are going to find aspects of them that might not generally come out just as a defense mechanism. So if your man is generally kind and gentle when you are not triggered, and if he is hardworking, and if he can apologize when he makes mistakes, if he works hard for his family, if he shoulders his burdens, that's a good man. But please don't think your good man has to be all those things no matter how you act, because they are going to react to us if we come at them too.
And I talk about the ups and downs in a marriage and how that's normal, that a marriage isn't supposed to be an upward climb where it just keeps getting better and better and better and better, or a straight line where we're just coasting. There's many ups and downs in a marriage. And I remember a specific time period where my husband and I were in a downswing and hitting a lot of challenges. And at that point in my marriage, I was still heavily emasculating to my husband. And he really shut down to me and he withdrew. He was drinking more. We had more fights. And because of that experience, I wanted to say, well, he's not a good man because look at how he's behaving. And he was there because of how I was treating him. They're very sensitive to how we interact and how we are with them in a relationship. And that was a big turning point for me to put my big girl pants on and start looking at myself and see the ways I was emasculating him and to stop and to learn how to stop. And when I did, guess what happened? My husband reengaged and I saw him as kind and gentle. I saw all the ways that he was caring and showing up in the relationship. And it was me that had to take that first step. I had to lead. And so if you're at a place in your relationship and saying, well, he's withdrawn and he's doing all these things, and if you remember who you married and why you married him and can see that he's a good man, I promise if you begin to look at yourself and start to be kind, you will start to see and know how he's a good man.
Well, and a good man can genuinely apologize, and he can forgive. Depending on how often and how harshly we've hurt them, it might take them a few days. I don't think we realize how deeply we can hurt them. And they want to forgive us, but they can't fake it either. So they have to wait till that heals a little bit in them to come back and open their hearts to us too.
And there's one more thing, and now it went away.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Well, if it comes back, I'll bring it back up. It's not there right now. But Peggy, did you want to comment on the boring and uninteresting?
Oh, yes. Okay. Most of us women have liked bad boys because they're exciting, they're fun. Good men are genuinely are good men are more apt to be a little quieter, and we might think they're boring. I used to think that because they didn't challenge me. They weren't exciting. Um, but actually, if you open your hearts, they're they can be more fun because they are more genuine and more open to you. You know, the bad boys do everything for show and they're not genuine. But it took me a little while to really, really appreciate a good man because I was used to the excitement of the bad boys.
And if you're thinking that your husband or partner is boring and uninteresting, you got to look at yourself and look at how you might be disengaged with your own life and that you're boring and uninteresting. That's not bad or wrong. It just comes from being disengaged with ourselves. I've been there many times. I'll go there again. And it's always just a benchmark of, okay, Karen, it's time to take action in your life and begin exploring who you are. And as I do that, then I take that projection off of my husband. He's boring and uninteresting, and say, oh, he's kind of fun. So so that happens too. And we've got a couple. I want to show this one. This is really nice. We can't see who the comments and questions are from and the technology that we're using, but we have a comment from someone in the group saying, wow, ladies, thank you so much for this. This is helping me so much. And we're so glad that you're getting so much out of it and that it's helping you. And another comment saying, what I am hearing is that it's important to really acknowledge my partner's good qualities and be nice to them first. Then they will step up on their own and engaging and doing more in our relationship.
Oh,
You're hearing it right.
yay!
That's
Yes.
exactly what we're saying. And good for you for hearing that so clearly. So, all right, on to the next question. In your post, Karen, here we go. In your post, Karen, you said that you didn't want to initiate sex with your husband. I do all the time, but he doesn't seem interested at all. And I have to say, that's been one of my biggest struggles for me in my marriage is initiating sex, because I shut myself down so much and put so many walls up. So that's one of my bigger challenges. And previously, though, before I got married, when I was still trying to get that external value of getting married, I would initiate sex all the time. And a lot of times my then boyfriend, now husband, wouldn't want to, and he was uninterested. And it's because maybe I was initiating when he didn't really want to have sex, and I knew it because maybe I didn't really want to have sex. So I was initiating at times where I knew he would, shoot me down, so to speak. And what we then do is use that to emasculate our man and make them feel bad about themselves because they're a man. So they should always want to have sex, which is a really interesting double standard because we expect if they initiate and we don't want to, that they should just respect that and know that. But we initiate and they don't want to, and heads are going to roll. That's a really interesting dynamic.
Well, and I know in marriages, us women do that. It's like, oh, he really seems tired. I think I'll act like I want sex, so then I can say, well, I asked you if you wanted to have sex the other night, and it's like, oh my goodness, really? And if you really are trying to initiate sex when the timing is good and he still is not interested, I would look at how you have been treating him lately, because if we come at them triggered and hurt them, it will diminish their them wanting to be with us in that way. They're hurt, you know, and when we're hurt, we don't want to have sex either. So I think in more cases than not, if men don't want to have sex with their partners, it is because they've been emasculated and don't feel like a man anymore.
Thank you, Peggy. And one of the things Peggy taught me when I finally opened up to working on my relationship with sex and working through all the hurt and walls I had built up around it is she suggested when I was in good space and genuinely curious to have a conversation with my husband and ask him, when do you feel most wanting to have sex? When is that for you? And being curious and then maybe seeing if you can initiate around those times. But again, like Peggy said, asking yourself, how have I been treating him? Have I been being kind? But that can be a good conversation to have. But you have to be genuinely curious about it. It can't come from a place of feeling resentful and angry and full of blame.
Well, and people like having sex different times of the day, you know. So talk to your partner about that. Some guys prefer it in the morning, some prefer it at night, you know, and it really, depending on their job and the demands of it and all of that, maybe they just are wore out at night and emotionally spent. So we need to be considerate of those things too.
Yeah, it's understanding and respecting where our partner is at. And, you know, sometimes if my husband and I, if I initiate sex and it turns out he's really not there, it's so nice now to be able to genuinely be like, that's okay. And, you know, we kind of have an intimate moment together there, knowing that that's okay. Well, let's, you know, do something else. And it really is okay. It's not the most important thing in a relationship. And I always try to make sex the foundation of a relationship. And it's really not that. It's being able to show up as myself and accept who I am, and also working towards being able to accept my partner, a good man, for who he fully is.
Well, and maybe if he isn't in the mood for sex, maybe he just wants to be touched a little bit, you know, offer to give him a little massage, or maybe just watch a movie and cuddle. You know, don't make him feel wrong for not wanting it. If you continue to be loving, he may turn around, and it doesn't really matter if he doesn't, because then you will have shared an intimate moment anyway. It doesn't have to be sex to be intimate.
Yeah, we make that mistake a lot, thinking intimacy equals sex. Yeah. And it doesn't. Intimacy is the willingness to be myself. And in order to be myself and show up as me, I got to do the work to get to know who I am, which is a great segue into our next question on our list, which is, what are some of the things I can do to build a relationship with myself? I hardly have any time for me.
All right. Building a relationship with yourself. To have a relationship with myself, first I have to know myself, and take complete responsibility for both my internal and external experience of myself. I know life is busy and hectic, but if you're connected to yourself, you can know yourself every moment of the day. I keep checking in all day long going, how are you feeling, Peggy? How do you feel about this? And in me asking myself those questions, I'm getting to know myself. You know, if we live life as shoulds or reacting, we'll never know ourselves. We have to ask ourselves how we are feeling in the moment, and to look for things to do that make us happy and take responsibility for giving ourselves those things that make us happy.
And
And look for things that also make us grow. They're two separate things. I mean, things that make us grow will make us happy, but we don't do those probably as often as the things we can do that just make us happy.
and it's really rewarding to find the things in life that are going to push me to grow and get to know myself in new ways. And maybe they are really scary for us. One of those things for me was doing Toastmasters. And oh my gosh, did I want to run and quit and give up, because it really was pushing me to grow, getting up and doing public speaking. And as I kept, I had to do what Peggy said, to be curious about how I was feeling and what fears it was bringing up for me, and working through that and continuing to show up for myself. And as I did that, I built so much value in myself and feeling good about who I am, and learned that I can move through challenges and stay committed and not give up. So it's very rewarding to find those things that are going to push us in life and maybe really scare us, or our first response is, no way, I am not doing that. But when we can open our hearts to it and step in and say, okay, I'm going to see what I learned, I do grow so much. And in that growth, I build that relationship with myself, because I really get to know who I am in ways that I never could if I stayed with things that are comfortable for me in life.
And I think we mentioned this in another video, but the things that make women happy usually require us to slow down, which means maybe working with plants or painting or digging in the dirt, or because when we slow down, our softness comes out, and that's a very lovely feeling for us, and to know ourselves as soft. But we can never, ever experience ourselves as soft if we're sped up.
Yeah. So even taking time throughout the day to check in with where you're at. Are you sped up? Do you need to take a moment to breathe and ground in yourself and slow down? That little simple thing can help you so much in knowing who you are and feeling that softness and allowing that to come out. So Peggy, we're at about, do we want to get into these questions that we have left, or save them for next week?
Oh, well, we can save some. How long have we been on? I
almost an hour.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh,
no.
Yes. Well, okay. Then I think we need to close up, and we can deal with the rest of the questions.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think it'll be nice. We've got some great questions. We're doing another Q&A next Friday at the same time. So 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 Pacific time. We're in Mountain Time. So we'll be back at the same time, and we've got some really great questions to cover that we didn't get to today.
And if you have any other, please send them to us.
Yes, you can private message them to me, or you can post them in the Facebook group, and I will save them for next time. And again, Peggy, anything in wrapping up and summarizing today, or anything else you want to add about what we talked about?
I think I am very proud of our group.
Yeah.
You guys are stepping up and supporting Karen and I when things get controversial, and you are starting to really hear what we're saying. So good job. And if there is anything we can help you with, please reach out. We'd love to help.
Yeah, you can private message either Peggy or me, and we'll set up a call and give you some clarity. Like we said at the beginning, this work is really different, and the program that we have is completely transformational, not just for your marriage, but for your whole life. Because again, that foundation of the program is building a relationship with yourself, which allows you to then make a whole new set of choices in your life and in your marriage, which will set you on a completely new trajectory in your life that allows you to be who you are in ways that you never imagined. So if you're ready to jump into that, or even just have a conversation of what that would look like, private message us and we will set something up. So thank you so much, Peggy. Or yeah.
Well, I was going to say, if anyone listening has a girlfriend in a similar situation, invite them to get on the Facebook group so you have somebody to share this with, because maybe you can be vulnerable with them
Mm-hmm.
first and then with your husband, but don't expect your husband to be your girlfriend.
Good point. Very important. So thank you so much, Peggy, for sharing your insight and wisdom with us. We're so fortunate to have you to guide us, and it's so much fun to do this with you.
And everyone have a great weekend.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.